This paper is titled Patterns of Human Behavior as Discernible in the Burial Locations of Iron Landscapes in the Muthalamada region in Palakkad district, Kerala. This is actually focused on the burial, the nature of burials found in the region. I would like to give a little focus on the nature of settlements in the area. This is very difficult in the present level of our knowledge. But as you know, burial is a practice that had a long past. That has a long past. Even in the Neolithic period, in many countries, we have objects by the side of these skeletons. So, and with some ritual purpose, the people travel a lot. There is a tendency to travel a lot and visit the places of the dead. So that practice, when exactly had this practice started, we don't know. So the most mysterious of all aspects of this Iron Age phase in Kerala is perhaps the settlement patterns. This is going to be an unending field of investigation. And the exact relationship between the Iron Age relics and the immediate environment is still not clear. We have a lot of questions to ask, whether the builders had lived near them or were the burials away from the settlements, and whether these Iron Age groups had any connection with prehistoric groups. Many aspects are not clear, and we have been forced to focus more on the burials and their context. Even that does not indicate the hierarchy involved between the burial sites, between the burial monuments. See, this investigation into the megalithic past remains still in a preliminary phase. Though it is not recent, that investigation into megalithic archaeology had started long ago, long back, more than 1 century passed now. But we are yet to explore more and more into many aspects. This is the problem which we face in that field. More and more explorations and surveys would be required for getting an approximate picture of what the life have been in face. And this is also my this paper is also part of my attempt to trace the archaeological relics of the people who had lived. That way, I have been trying to understand the nature of the geographical locations, the environment involved, the possible sources of livelihood, and so on. And this area is more noted. It is noted for the area of study is noted for anthropological theories. Our historians have some pet theories on the Iron Age in Kerala. Most of these theories are grounded in their understanding of the Tamil poems and the description there. And we do not actually know for sure what kind of society had existed in that period. That means we are reading too much into the relics based on theory and references in Tamil poems. In fact, the well-known archaeologists like Rajan had recognized that even irrigated agriculture had its beginnings in Iron Age. But there is reluctance on the part of our historians and archaeologists to recognize to accept that agriculture had a beginning in the Iron Age. And the archaeology, the anthropologists, they say that there was a specific schema, a pattern in the evolution of the early society from bands, tribe, bands to tribe, from tribe to chiefdom, from chiefdom to early states. But the exact distinctions between tribe and chiefdom and all these are not really clear. Even that has been subjected to a lot of criticisms. That Elmanar service theory is problematic in many contexts. So the one thing that comes to my mind based on the last few years explorations is that the context of the megalithic sites context would be very, very different. The technology used, the architectural techniques employed, the subsistence pattern involved, the settlement patterns, all these would be very different. And that subsistence pattern, all the subsistence pattern is not based on any tangible evidence. It is based on theory. The settlement patterns also, all these are inferences, a matter of inferences. And the usual pattern we find, the usual artifact we find is burial, and the Muthalamada region, especially the lower, which forms the lower reaches of the Western Ghats to the south of the Palakkad Gap, has also a lot of Iron Age burials, Iron Age early historic burials, and most of these have been subjected to vandalism. Also, natural factors contributed to their ruins. They have been. They are in a ruined state. There are very few sites which may give us scope for further investigation, detailed investigations. Yet to be tapped, yet to be excavated. Some end burials are there that can be excavated by people like Abhin or Rajesh. That would be that can be expected in the future, and these burials are found mostly on hilltops, hill slopes, also on hill slopes. So the usual pattern is repeated. In other places also this is the case. The visible burials are on hill slopes. That doesn't mean that we didn't have burials in the plains. Perhaps because of habitation, continuous habitation, that must have been destroyed, that must have disappeared. That could have happened. And so the most notable, most striking type, the most common burial in these hilly areas is corn heaps. Corn heaps having schist burials. And now we find only bare rocks and some heaps of soil with a lot of boulders and schist slabs. That mean that these burials were once so small. These heaps were so small that couldn't have happened because of natural factors. The soil content would have been eroded, would have been lost. That should be kept in our mind when we see these sites, when we see these burials. A lot of complexity would have been there, though we are yet to be so clear that which level of complexity we don't know. There must have been potters, stone cutters, laborers, makers of iron implements and weapons. All these groups of people had been there. They were there. So there is a great debate over whether the Iron Age people of the South were sedentary. That has to continue. Continue for a few more years. A great many scholars are speculating on the complex nature of the society. But the question is, had the megalithic people moved towards the riverine tracts and started diversifying their resource base? There are possibilities. Some of the megalithic people could have moved towards the riverine tracts as well, and the burial sites in the other parts would tell us that in the initial period, the burials were not an elaborate affair. They just dumped their bodies. They just covered the bodies with flowers, with soil and flowers. So that was the beginning. In some parts, they had put some objects, stone objects. After that, some pottery. So this was a feature right from the prehistoric times onwards. In fact, yesterday Josh made a presentation and saying that an obsidian object was found near a burial. In fact, that was a feature we find in Neolithic sites like Catalhuyac. Chips of obsidian could be found in those burial sources. So it is not to be unexpected that presence of obsidian objects could not maybe though it is for the first time that it is telling us that such objects could be found in megalithic context or near megalithic context. So, one thing is also clear. Another aspect is also clear. Rajan has also pointed out. Dr. Rajan has also pointed out that the pottery used in the Iron Age burials and habitation sites would be very different. And this was there in Eastern Europe also. The pottery type was different in the settlements. The idea is very clear. The point is, in the earlier societies, the objective of burial was to show some reverence towards the dead. They had also some kind of lofty ideals about life after death, and there was some practical objectives as well, like the Egyptians who had deposited their dead in places far away from their settlements, but they took care to deposit their dead in dry desert lands so that this body would not have would not decay. So this objective itself was different. Reverence towards the dead could have been there. The objective of maintaining, protecting the dead from decay would have been there. That also gives us a lot of possibilities, possibilities of for thinking. So the question I would like to ask is whether the megalithic people in the Muthalamada region had a preference for places far away from their settlements. Settlements we don't know, but were these burials away from the from living spaces? Had they walked kilometers to put their dead in the put the relics of the dead in burials. That has to be explored further. So the location of the site surveyed is basically it is close to the Tamala range. You can see the place. This is the region which I have explored. This is the Gayatri Basin. Actually, the Mingara River starts here. Mingara is actually Gayatri River, and this becomes Gayatri River in the Collingwood area, from Collingwood area onwards. So there are some rivers, some important rivers. Gayatri River, Chuliar was a river. It was a small river, but a dam is there called Chuliar. So the geography would be very interesting, and that area is very undulating. In the immediate context of the Tamala ranges, it would be very sloppy. From that sloppy part, we can find some undulating terrains as well. So this region, the Muthalamada region, is very different from the areas in the Palakkad plains, in the other places like Chittoor or Koduvayur. They are fertile, they are plains. But here we have plains only in certain portions only. So from that, from the ethnographic investigations, I could find that the agricultural communities had not inhabited in these regions until recently. The agricultural development itself took place in a very recent time. So this area was forested, heavily forested, and that forest had to be retrieved for agriculture in recent times, maybe about maybe during the late medieval period. Most of the lands were under the Collingwood, Kovilagam, and some Brahmin families. The entire Tamila region was in the hands of the Kovilagam, and the regions just beyond were in the hands of the Kovilagam and the Tamil players. So this was the case. So now these are the sites, the major sites which we have where we have some notable burials. I would give you a brief idea of these sites. The place names have some suffixes like Pati, Para, Padam, Kolam, Challa, Chira, Kalam, Pallam, Tara, etc. That means these had some elements, some historical elements. You can find the similar features in other border areas as well, more under the influence of Tamil people. Chala, Padi is traceable back to the early Tamilagam period as well. And the place name, the suffixes are not common. Such suffixes are not common in other areas in and around Palakkad. And the important places in the Muthalamada region include Parambikulam, and there are many sites: Chemmana, Dod, Mingara, Govindapuram, Nilipara, and so many sites. We have I have identified 7 to 8 sites where we can find Iron Age burials, and these sites are Nachuparakunam, Vellaram Kadavu, Para Mede, and Nagarpadam, Kalliveti Challa, etc. All these are cyst burial sites. Only Nagarpadam and Ayyappan God have urn burial sites. So this is the Mingara Dam. Mingara River, the next picture. So one site which can be excavated by the archaeologists in the coming years would be this, but this is soon disappearing. This man is Gangadharan. He is very much interested in archaeology and our past, but somewhere in his mind there is a hope that some treasures would be there in the ruins. So he has excavated many burials. I have been trying to prevent him, and he has been cooperating with me. But these boulders you find, these were taken out from top of the urns. So far, no urn has been taken out, but there was some activity. A few years back, some urns were destroyed. He himself has mentioned, but with our knowledge, he has not done any destruction. So these are this is one site. We call it Ayappan Gard. Only capstones could be found. They're close to that. In fact, the interesting thing is that it is in the midst of some paddy fields. It had a cad as a suffix. Close to that is that place is called Kadam Kuruchi, just opposite that place. There is a possibility on the west is Kadam Kuruchi. There is a possibility that the entire region, including Ayappan, could have been a Kuruchi area. We don't know because the agricultural lands, the Kadu could have been converted into agricultural lands. This is another area. This is Nachipara Kunna. This is Count Heap. We can see the potsherds all around. We had only one system that most probably that would be lost this week because scoring is going on. I reported that to the district collector. The outcome, we don't know. I don't know. That a very good cyst is there. Yet to people have yet to be serious about that site. And this is another site, urn burial site. And Vellaram is another site. So this is a very interesting site, Chiparakunna. I have already mentioned. Very beautiful also. See, all these sites have some geographical importance as well. Now, why they select such places is an interesting aspect. They have some panoramic view. They selected the burial sites on top of the hills, and from there they can have a very good view of the area around also. For us, very beautiful. This is another site, sister burial. There no object is there. So just some statistics. I'm skipping all this. Let me end the urn burials. I would like to say a few words about these urns found at Nagarpada. Only one urn, only the capstones of one urn burial were taken out, and I went to that place at the time of taking out, and I found four slabs as a capstone. These are the figures, the details of thickness, length, breadth, etc. And let me say a few words about the artisanal features of the CIS. The slabs are not found on any on all sides. The actual diameter we are not able to say. The east-west perimeter is less in some cases. It is not always so. The swastika shaped, there is swastika shaped view. That is not a general phenomenon. In fact, too much importance to swastika angle need not be given. And there are some projections on the east side projections would be there. The eastern side slab would be projecting towards the north. The northern side slab would be projecting towards the west. And we have burials with 4 slabs on all sides without any projections. So this is just a practical thing. They placed these stones just to ensure that they would be there. They would be packing these burials with boulders so that whether there is projection or not, it would be intact. That much care would have been taken by the people there that time. And cysts are found on all hill slopes and tops. And the orthostracs vertically are very small. They are not so huge as in the plain lands. The slab thickness varies from 4 to 32 centimeter. The length varies from the length of the slabs varies from 33 centimeter to 1.80 meter. That is 1.80 meter. It is also due to the slabs being broken. Capstones are rare. Capstones are rectangular and square. Most often, that is the case. The slabs are cut crudely. That may indicate the level of the people, the nature of people. Several cysts are there in the same heap. The earth in the heaps have been washed away. They are erected on top of the hill, small hillocks using raw material available locally. The shape of the burials is not dependent only on iron technology. There must have been local variations. The craftsman's ability to shape them as well as the outlook of the people towards the dead could have influenced the structures. Heavy rains caused the destruction of the burials. Originally, they must have been built as if it was to last forever as a permanent home. This is indicated by the perfection in some masonry. Even in less inhabited sites, the destruction level has been tremendous. So we cannot always put the blame on people for the destruction of the burials. Natural factors, especially in areas like Muthalamada, where habitation has been very recent. We can clearly say that natural factors would have contributed much in the destruction of these cyst burials. And the cone heaps are noted for stone masonry in a nice manner. In fact, this was noticed in some other sites like Rishi and Muthalamada also. It is like putting the bricks in bricks for walls. The surroundings of the corn heaps are nicely packed in a beautiful manner. Only very few sites have such features visible now. And the corn heaps are smaller in size in this area, unlike in Rishi or Muthalamada, and they are connected to them. They are connected to one another at a certain distance, and the rubble can be found all over. The soil and boulders would be there. They would have used the soil and boulders to form the heap. Community burials perhaps. And they might not have been of the same period. That is also the possibility. The burials at Palakkad would give us an idea of how they had been built. Different coarser slabs and boulders, as I said earlier. And this is one thing that prompts us to think that the terrain influences the making of the burials. The soil deposits also